Frank Miller stood at the window of the space station and looked out at the stars. After 20 years in the Navy, he never thought he would be the first human to officially meet aliens. The message had come 3 weeks ago. Earth was not alone. Now, as commander of the International Space Navy, he waited to greet the representatives of something called the Galactic Confederation. The ship that docked with the station was sleek and silver, unlike anything humans had built. Frank straightened his uniform and took a deep breath as the airlock hissed open. The aliens that emerged were tall and thin with blue-gray skin. They had 4 arms and large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. The leader stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Vexeri of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been watching your kind for some time." Frank extended his hand, then realized the alien might not know the gesture. "Commander Frank Miller of Earth, welcome to our home." To his surprise, Vexeri reached out with his upper right arm and shook Frank's hand. "We have studied your customs. This is acceptable." The meeting lasted 6 hours. Frank learned that the galaxy was home to over 300 intelligent species, organized under the Confederation. But the true power belonged to something called the Vexeri Empire, which controlled most of the known galaxy. "The Empire tolerates the Confederation," explained Vexeri. "They allow us to handle minor species like yours." Frank tried not to be offended. "And what exactly does the Confederation want with Earth?" "To welcome you, of course. Your species has finally developed sufficient technology to join the galactic community. Though I must warn you, the Vexeri may not be as welcoming. They view emerging species as potential threats." After the official meeting, one of the smaller aliens approached Frank privately. Unlike the others, this one had green markings on its face. "Commander Miller, I am Diplomat Tarvol," the alien said quietly. "I must speak with you away from the others." They moved to a small room off the main conference area. Zarvol looked around nervously. "You should know that humans are already being discussed in Imperial circles. You are considered problematic." "Problematic? We've only just made contact. How could we possibly be a problem?" Zarvol's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Your species adapts quickly. You solve problems in unusual ways. The Empire prefers predictable species that follow established patterns. Humans do not fit their models." Frank frowned. "That doesn't sound like our problem." "It will become your problem if the Empire decides you are a threat," said Zarvol. "Be careful, Commander. Present yourselves as peaceful and non-threatening." In the months that followed, Earth established formal relations with the Confederation. Information and technology began to flow, mostly from the aliens to humans. The knowledge helped Earth complete its first true colony on Mars and build better ships for exploring nearby stars. But Frank never forgot Zarvol's warning. During diplomatic meetings, he always emphasized humanity's peaceful intentions. When alien representatives visited Earth, he made sure they saw schools, hospitals, and farms rather than military bases. Still, he couldn't help but notice the Vexeri Empire representatives watching everything with cold, calculating eyes. They were tall, muscular aliens with red skin and black armor. They rarely spoke directly to humans, preferring to observe from a distance. "They're sending spies to our colonies," said Admiral Garcia during a security briefing 2 years after first contact. "We've identified at least 12 Vexeri operatives on Mars alone." Frank nodded. "Let them watch. They'll see we're not a threat." "Unless they decide we are," said Garcia. "Then what?" Frank looked at the star map showing human expansion. In just 2 years, humanity had reached farther and faster than anyone expected. The Vexeri were right to be concerned, even if their fears were misplaced. "Then," said Frank, "we'll have to change their minds." What he didn't know was how difficult and dangerous that would prove to be. 10 years had passed since first contact. Humans now had colonies on 12 worlds across 3 star systems. Their ships were faster and stronger than ever before. Captain Samantha Wright stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Discovery. the newest and best ship in the fleet. Her mission was to visit a Vexeri outpost in the Proxima system for a diplomatic meeting. "Captain, we're approaching the Vexeri station," said Lieutenant Gray Harris from the pilot's seat. "They've sent docking instructions." Samantha nodded. At 42, she had gray streaks in her dark hair, but her eyes were sharp and alert. "Take us in slowly. Remember, this is just a friendly visit." The Vexeri station was huge, a spinning ring of metal with thousands of red-skinned aliens living inside. As Discovery approached, Samantha noticed something strange on her screens. "Those energy readings don't look right," she said, pointing to the flashing numbers. "The station's reactor is overheating." Greg checked his own screens. "You're right. At this rate, it will explode in less than an hour." Samantha opened a communication channel. "Vexeri Station, this is Captain Wright of Earth Ship Discovery. Your reactor is showing dangerous levels. Do you need assistance?" There was a long pause before a gruff voice answered. "Human vessel, this is Station Commander Cosval. Our engineers are handling the situation. Your concern is noted but unnecessary." Samantha looked at her chief engineer, Alan Foster. He shook his head. "Those readings are getting worse, not better. They're either lying or don't know how bad it is." Samantha made a quick decision. "Commander Cosval, our scans indicate your reactor will breach in approximately 45 minutes. We're sending our engineering team to help." "That is not acceptable," the Vexeri commander replied angrily. "No humans are permitted on this station without Imperial authorization." "Then evacuate your people to our ship," Samantha said firmly. "There are over 2,000 lives at stake." There was silence again. Then, "Stand by, human." Alan leaned closer to Samantha. "I can fix their reactor, but I need to get inside. Their pride is going to get them all killed." 10 minutes later, after more arguing, Samantha had enough. "Prepare a shuttle. Alan, pick your best people. We're going over there whether they like it or not." The Vexeri guards met them at the docking bay with weapons drawn, but Samantha walked past them with her hands empty and her head high. "Take us to the reactor," she said to the tallest guard. Now, perhaps it was her tone, or perhaps the Vexeri finally realized the danger, but they led the humans through the station to the massive reactor core. Alan and his team immediately went to work, ignoring the suspicious glares of the Vexeri engineers. "The cooling system is completely misaligned," Alan said after a quick inspection, "and the backup systems are offline." For the next 30 minutes, the humans worked frantically alongside reluctant Vexeri engineers. With just 5 minutes to spare, Alan reset the reactor and restored the cooling systems. The danger passed. Station Commander Cosval did not thank them. He simply nodded stiffly and ordered them back to their ship. Once back on Discovery, Greg asked, "Was it worth it?" "They didn't even say thank you." Samantha smiled. "We didn't do it for thanks. We did it because it was right." Far away on the Vexeri homeworld, Emperor Zorlak watched the report of the incident with narrowed eyes. His advisors stood nervously around his massive throne. "So," the Emperor said slowly, his voice deep and menacing, "these humans risked their lives to save our people. Why would they do this?" "Perhaps to show goodwill, Your Magnificence," suggested one advisor. The Emperor slammed his fist down. "No, they are planning something. No species acts without self-interest. These humans grow too quickly. They expand too rapidly. Now they demonstrate superior technical knowledge by fixing a reactor our own engineers could not." He stood, his tall figure casting a long shadow. "The humans are a threat to Vexeri dominance. They must be controlled." "How shall we proceed, Your Magnificence?" asked his chief military advisor. Emperor Zorlak's red face twisted into a cruel smile. "Contact the Krizat Guild. Tell them I wish to eliminate certain human leaders." Quietly. The advisor's eyes widened. "The Assassin Guild." "But Your Magnificence, they charge." "I don't care about the cost. snapped the Emperor. "Contact them immediately." The Krezed Guild Hall was hidden deep within an asteroid field in neutral space. For 3,000 years, they had been the most feared assassins in the galaxy. No target had ever escaped them. No contract had ever been refused. Until now. Drekthar stood before the Guild Council, 7 shadowy figures seated in a half-circle. His gray skin was marked with the symbols of his many successful kills. As the most skilled assassin in the guild, he had been chosen for the human contract. "Explain yourself," said the Chief Master, her voice cold and hard. "Why have you refused the Emperor's contract?" Drekthar's 4 yellow eyes blinked calmly. "I have spent 6 weeks studying humans on their colony worlds. I have watched them. I have lived among them. I cannot in good conscience complete this contract." Murmurs of shock spread through the council. No Krezat had ever refused a contract once accepted. "The target is a simple human doctor named Lisa Martinez," Drekthar continued. "She has developed a new treatment that can heal nerve damage in any species. The Emperor wants her dead because this treatment would help the rebellious outer colonies he is trying to control through medical restrictions." Drekthar touched a small device on his wrist, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human female working in a medical lab. "I watched her work for 20 days, said Drekthar. "She lives in a small dwelling. She could charge millions for her treatment. Instead, she gives it freely to anyone who needs it. I saw her treat Vexeri children whose parents brought them secretly to her clinic." The council members watched in silence as the hologram showed Dr. Martins working day and night, helping beings of many different species. "This is irrelevant," said one council member. "The guild does not judge its targets. We only fulfill contracts." Drekthar pressed another button. A new hologram appeared showing a mining accident on a small moon. Alien miners were trapped beneath fallen rocks. The humans immediately began rescue efforts, digging with their hands when equipment failed. "I witnessed this 3 weeks ago," said Drekthar. "The humans had no reason to help these miners. They were not of their species. They had no political or economic value. Yet they risked their lives. 4 humans died saving aliens they had never met before." He showed more recordings. Humans sharing food with hungry aliens during a supply shortage. Humans defending a small Xanthi settlement from raiders. Humans teaching their language and technology freely to anyone who asked. The guild chief raised her hand, stopping the images. "What is your point, Drekthar?" "In all my years as an assassin, I have never seen a species like this," Drekthar replied. "They help others without seeking advantage. They risk their lives for strangers. They share knowledge that other species would keep secret." He straightened his back. "I believe humans should be classified as protected sentients under the ancient guild laws." The council chamber erupted in loud debate. Protected sentient status had only been granted twice in the guild's history, for species deemed too valuable to the galaxy to be targeted. After hours of discussion and reviewing Drekthar's evidence, the Chief Master called for a vote. One by one, each member pressed a button on their chair arm. The final count appeared on the main screen. Unanimous approval. "The humans are now classified as protected sentients," announced the Chief Master. "All contracts against them are permanently denied. Drekthar, you will personally deliver this message to Emperor Zorlak." Drekthar bowed. "As you command." 2 days later, Drekthar stood before the enraged Emperor in the grand throne room of the Vexeri homeworld. The Emperor's red skin had darkened to crimson with fury. "What do you mean you refuse?" he roared. "The Krezat have never refused an imperial contract." Drekthar remained calm. "The guild has unanimously voted to classify humans as protected sentients. No contracts will be accepted against them, now or ever." The Emperor's eyes widened in disbelief. "Protected sentients? Those primitive savages. On what grounds?" "On the grounds," said Drekthar, "that they possess qualities this galaxy cannot afford to lose." The Krezed Guild Council chamber was silent as Drekthar presented his final evidence. The 7 masters watched intently as a new hologram, appeared in the center of the room. This happened 3 months ago on a Vexeri colony world, Drekthar explained. A building caught fire with both humans and Vexeri inside. The hologram showed flames engulfing a tall structure. People of different species rushed out in panic. A human male in a Navy uniform helped evacuate the building, guiding aliens and humans to safety. "This is Lieutenant Paul Johnson of the Earth Diplomatic Security Team," said Drekthar. "Watch what happens next." In the recording, Paul counted the evacuees, then suddenly looked alarmed. He spoke to a crying Vexeri female and pointed at the burning building. Without hesitation, Paul ran back into the flames. The Vexeri mother told him her child was still inside, Drekthar said. Lieutenant Johnson had already completed his duty. He had no obligation to go back. The building was collapsing, yet he went. The hologram showed Paul emerging 2 minutes later, his uniform burning, carrying a small Vexeri child. He handed the child to its mother just before collapsing from smoke inhalation. Lieutenant Johnson suffered third-degree burns over 60% of his body. Drekthar continued. He spent 3 months in medical recovery. When asked why he risked his life, he said simply, "It was a child. What else could I do?" Drekthar switched to another recording. This one showed a human laboratory where a woman worked among complex equipment. "This is scientist Diana Foster. She developed a vaccine against the Toral Plague that was devastating Outer Rim worlds. The Vexeri Medical Authority offered her exclusive rights worth billions in your currency. Instead, she did this." The recording showed Diana giving the vaccine formula to representatives of 12 different species. She shared it freely with everyone, saying health should not be for sale, Drekthar explained. The Vexeri Medical Authority was furious, but the plague was stopped within months instead of years. The guild chief master leaned forward. "These are impressive examples, Drekthar. But 2 humans do not represent an entire species." "I have hundreds more examples," replied Drekthar. "In my 6 weeks of observation, I documented over 300 cases of humans helping others at personal cost or risk, with no expected reward." He touched his wrist device again. A stream of images flashed by. Humans sharing food during shortages. Humans teaching their technology to less advanced species. Humans defending weaker aliens from bullies. Humans adopting orphaned alien children. Most importantly, Drekthar said, these actions were not by their leaders or special individuals. These were ordinary humans. Workers, teachers, soldiers, farmers. This behavior appears to be natural to their species. The Guild Council deliberated for hours. Finally, the Chief Master spoke the historic words. By unanimous decision, humans are classified as protected sentients. All contracts against them, current and future, are denied. Drekthar, you will notify Emperor Zorlak of our decision. Now standing before the Emperor's throne, Drekthar faced the ruler's rage without flinching. You dare to refuse me? Emperor Zorlak shouted, his fists clenched. I could have your entire guild destroyed. You could try, Drekthar replied calmly. But even you, your magnificence, would not survive such an attempt. The guild's decision is final. The Emperor's advisors shifted nervously. Everyone knew the Krizat could not be threatened. These humans you protect, the Emperor snarled, they are a disease spreading through my empire. They encourage independence and free thinking. They undermine my authority with their talk of cooperation and sharing. Perhaps that is why they must be protected, said Drekthar. The guild believes they bring something to the galaxy that is worth preserving. Emperor Zorlak stood from his throne, towering over Drekthar. Get out of my sight. I accept your refusal. For now. As Drekthar left the palace, he knew the Emperor would not give up so easily. The humans would still be in danger, but now they had the protection of the most feared assassins in the galaxy. And that was a start. Emperor Zorlak paced his private chamber, his long red fingers tapping against the metal walls. If the Krizat would not eliminate the human problem, he would handle it himself. He summoned his chief military advisor, General Dravkan. "The Krezat have failed me," the Emperor said. "Prepare our own Imperial assassins. Target the human mining colony on asteroid B7. Make it look like an accident." General Dravkan bowed. "It will be done, Your Magnificence. Our best strike team will leave immediately." 3 days later, 5 Vexeri assassins dressed as maintenance workers arrived at the human mining colony. The small outpost housed only 30 humans who mined valuable minerals from the asteroid's core. The assassins planted explosives near the main air recyclers, set to look like an equipment failure. What they didn't expect was the asteroid's unstable nature. As they finished setting the last charge, a natural tremor shook the asteroid. The tunnel they were in began to collapse. Steve Rogers, the mining chief, was checking pressure gauges when he felt the tremor. His assistant, Linda Patel, ran up to him with an urgent report. 5 Vexeri workers are trapped in Tunnel 3, she said. The whole section is caving in. Steve grabbed his emergency kit. "Get the rescue team. We need to reach them before their air runs out." For the next 6 hours, the human miners dug through fallen rock and twisted metal. They used their own bodies to hold up collapsing sections while others crawled through to reach the trapped Vexeri. 2 humans suffered broken bones. One nearly died when his oxygen tank ran out, but still they kept digging. Finally, they broke through to a small pocket where the 5 Vexeri huddled together, their air nearly gone. The humans pulled them to safety, gave them emergency medical treatment, and transported them to the colony's small hospital. While treating the Vexeri for injuries, Dr. Jeff Carter found the explosives hidden in their equipment bags. He quietly showed them to Steve. "They were trying to sabotage our air system," Steve said, examining the devices. "They're Imperial agents, not workers." Linda looked troubled. "What should we do?" "Call Earth security." Steve thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No. We'll treat them, help them recover, and then send them home." "But they tried to kill us all," Linda protested. "And we just saved them," Steve replied. "Maybe that will make them think about what they're doing." The Vexeri assassins, expecting to be executed or at least imprisoned, were shocked when the humans continued to treat them with the same care they showed their own people. The leader of the assassin team, Captain Vexor, could not understand it. "Why do you help us?" he asked Steve as his injuries were being treated. "You found the explosives. You know what we came to do." Steve handed him a cup of water. "Because that's what humans do. We help those in need, even our enemies." Word of the failed assassination attempt and the humans' response spread quickly through Vexeri communication channels. Soon, the story reached other species. Many began to question Imperial propaganda about humans being dangerous. Some even reached out directly to human colonies, bypassing Vexeri diplomatic protocols. On Earth, Commander Frank Miller, now promoted to Admiral, received reports of increasing friendly contact from alien species. "It seems we're making friends despite the Empire's efforts," said his aide, Lieutenant Karen Lopes. Frank smiled. "The more they try to isolate us, the more the rest of the galaxy wants to know us." Meanwhile, in the hidden asteroid base of the Krezat Guild, Drekthar received the news about the failed assassination attempt. He immediately called an emergency meeting of the Guild Council. "The Emperor has moved against the humans despite our warning," he told them. "I request permission to take active measures to protect them." The Chief Master considered for a moment, then nodded. "Permission granted. For the first time in our history, the Krezat will protect instead of hunt. Assign our best agents to guard key human leaders." Drekthar bowed. "I will lead this effort myself." Back in his palace, Emperor Zorlak received the report of the failed mission. He smashed a valuable crystal sculpture against the wall. "Send more assassins," he shouted. "Send soldiers. I want those humans controlled." But his advisors exchanged worried glances. The Emperor's obsession with humans was becoming dangerous for everyone. Admiral Frank Miller stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest space station. At 65 years old, his hair was completely white now, but his mind remained sharp. Next to him stood representatives from 4 alien species that had never before allied with humans: the bird-like Vexeri, the aquatic Mersai, the crystalline Zenith, and the plant-based Florins. "The treaty is ready for your signature, Admiral," said Kurlix, the Vexeri ambassador, extending a document. "With this, we formally establish the Galactic Cooperative." Frank signed the paper with a steady hand. After years of diplomatic work, he had formed an alliance that would stand against Vexeri influence. None of these species had been powerful enough alone, but together with humans, they created a significant force. "The Emperor will not be pleased," said Mersey Ambassador Zol. Her translucent blue skin rippled with concern. "The Emperor hasn't been pleased since we entered space," Frank replied with a small smile. "We'll manage." News of the alliance spread quickly. The Vexeri Empire immediately increased border patrols and issued warnings to its citizens about contact with the dangerous coalition. But privately, many Vexeri worlds increased trade with the allied species, ignoring imperial directives. 3 months after forming the alliance, Admiral Olivia Jackson led a mixed fleet of human and allied ships on a research mission to a distant star system. At 50, Olivia was one of Earth's most respected commanders. Her dark skin contrasted with her silver-streaked hair, which she kept in a neat bun. As the fleet traveled through deep space, their sensors detected a distress signal. "Admiral, we're picking up a Vexeri transmission," reported her communications officer. "It's an emergency beacon from what appears to be a colony transport." Olivia studied the readings. "Change course to intercept. Prepare medical and rescue teams." Her second-in-command, an Avari named Trell, looked concerned. "Admiral, this could be a trap. The Empire has tried many times to ambush our ships." "It could be," Olivia agreed. "But it could also be civilians in need. We'll approach with caution, but we will approach." When they reached the source of the signal, they found a massive Vexeri colony ship drifting in space. Its engines were dead, and hull breaches marked its surface. Scans showed nearly 5,000 Vexeri on board, many in stasis pods. "Life support is failing," reported the science officer. "They have less than 20 hours of oxygen remaining." Olivia didn't hesitate. "Begin rescue operations immediately. Transfer the civilians to our ships." For the next 15 hours, human and allied crews worked tirelessly to evacuate the damaged colony ship. They discovered the vessel had been headed to establish a new Vexeri settlement when it suffered a catastrophic drive failure. Among the rescued colonists was a young Vexeri male with distinctive golden markings on his red skin. As he regained consciousness in the medical bay of Olivia's flagship, he introduced himself. "I am Krasden, son of Emperor Zorlak," he said weakly. "You have my gratitude, human." Olivia was stunned. The Emperor's own son had been on the colony ship. She immediately contacted Admiral Miller. "This changes everything," Frank said over the secure channel. "The Emperor's son is now in our care." "What should we do?" Olivia asked. "Treat him with respect and kindness," Frank replied. "Show him who we really are, not who his father claims we are." Over the next few days, Krasden watched in amazement as humans and their allies cared for the Vexeri colonists. Despite years of imperial hostility, the humans provided medical treatment, food, and comfortable quarters. "Why do you help us?" Krasden asked Olivia one evening as they walked through the medical bay. "My father has tried to destroy your colonies. He has declared your species a threat to the Empire." Olivia smiled. "Because every life has value, Your Highness, even those who consider themselves our enemies." Krasden was silent for a long moment. "I begin to understand why the Krizet refused to target your kind. You are not what my father believes you to be." On the Vexeri homeworld, Emperor Zorlak received news that his son's colony ship had been rescued by a human-led fleet. For the first time in his reign, the Emperor felt something new: uncertainty. Krasden, son of Emperor Zorlak, stood on the bridge of the human flagship beside Admiral Olivia Jackson. After 3 weeks among humans, he had seen enough to question everything his father had told him about these strange beings. "We will reach Earth in 2 days," Olivia told him. "From there, we can arrange transport back to your homeworld." Krasden nodded, his red skin reflecting the blue light of the navigation console. "I am in no hurry to return, Admiral. I have much to learn here." But they never reached Earth. An urgent message came from Admiral Miller. "The Vexeri fleet has launched attacks on 3 human colonies," Frank's hologram reported grimly. "Emperor Zorlak claims we've kidnapped his son and demands his return." Olivia glanced at Krasden, who looked horrified. "My father thinks I'm a prisoner." "It appears so," Olivia replied. "We need to get you home immediately to stop this conflict." Krasden shook his head. "My father won't believe I came willingly. He'll say you brainwashed me." This is the excuse he's been waiting for. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared across the ship. The tactical officer shouted, "Massive energy distortion detected. Some kind of space-time anomaly is forming." On the main screen, they watched as a swirling vortex of energy appeared in space. The science officer analyzed the readings with growing concern. "It's a wormhole anomaly, but unstable. Its gravitational pull is increasing rapidly." Olivia checked the star charts. "Where does it lead?" "Based on these readings," the science officer replied, "directly to the Vexeri homeworld." "And it's growing." Krasden gasped. "The Imperial City is on the exact coordinates where this wormhole will emerge. Billions of my people live there." Calculations confirmed his fear. The unstable wormhole would emerge in the heart of the Vexeri capital, destroying everything within thousands of miles. "How long do we have?" Olivia asked. 12 hours at most before it becomes irreversible," replied the science officer. Olivia made a decision. "Set course for the Vexeri homeworld, maximum speed. Alert all ships in our fleet to follow. Contact Earth and request all available vessels to join us." Krasden looked at her in confusion. "What are you doing?" "We're going to evacuate your capital," Olivia said simply. When the human fleet arrived at the Vexeri homeworld, they found the Vexeri military preparing for battle, not evacuation. The Emperor had convinced his generals that the wormhole warning was a human trick. Olivia opened a direct channel to the Imperial Palace. "Emperor Zorlak, I am Admiral Olivia Jackson. You must evacuate your capital immediately. A space-time anomaly will destroy this entire region in less than 8 hours." The Emperor's face appeared on screen, twisted with anger. "More human lies. Return my son at once or face destruction." Krasden stepped into view. "Father, listen to them. I've seen their readings. The danger is real." Despite his son's pleas, the Emperor ordered his fleet to attack. But many Vexeri captains hesitated, seeing their prince alive and well on the human ship. As precious hours passed, some Vexeri scientists confirmed the humans' warnings. Panic spread through the capital. The Emperor still refused to order an evacuation, but his military commanders began moving people anyway. When the wormhole began to visibly form in the sky above the Imperial City, even the Emperor could no longer deny the truth. But it was too late for an orderly evacuation. Admiral Jackson deployed her entire fleet. Human ships descended into the atmosphere, landing in city squares and parks. Crew members ran into buildings, carrying children and helping the elderly. The Allied ships joined the effort, working alongside those Vexeri, who now understood the humans had come to help. From the Krizad Guild's hidden outpost, Drekthar watched the humans risking their lives to save their supposed enemies. He sent a message to all guild members in the sector: assist the evacuation by any means necessary. On board the flagship, engineer Kevin Russell worked frantically at his console. After studying the wormhole readings, he had developed a theory. "Admiral," he said to Olivia, "I think I can stabilize the wormhole and prevent the destruction, but it will require flying a ship directly into the anomaly with a specially modified drive core." "Would the pilots survive?" asked Olivia. Kevin looked down. No, Admiral. It would be a one-way trip. Kevin didn't mention that he had a wife and 2 young children back on Earth. He simply added, I've already programmed the modifications. I should be the one to go. Admiral Olivia Jackson looked into the eyes of engineer Kevin Russell. She saw his determination, but also thought of his family back on Earth. Are you certain this is the only way? She asked. Kevin nodded. The wormhole must be stabilized from the inside. Someone has to pilot the ship through. Kraston, who had been listening, stepped forward. Then I should go. This is my homeworld. You don't know how to operate the drive, Kevin said gently. And your people will need you after this. You're their future. Olivia made the hardest decision of her career. Prepare the ship, Kevin. You have 1 hour. As Kevin worked on the final modifications to a small shuttle, a message arrived from the Imperial Palace. Emperor Zorlak requested to speak with Admiral Jackson. On the view screen, the Emperor looked nothing like the proud ruler who had threatened them earlier. His face showed fear and desperation. Admiral Jackson, he said, his voice strained. My scientists tell me your plan may work, but your pilot will not survive. We understand the cost, Olivia replied. The Emperor was silent for a moment. Why would one of your people sacrifice themselves for us? After all I have done. Because that's who we are, Olivia said simply. We value all life, not just human life. For the first time in his long rule, Emperor Zorlak lowered his head. I was wrong about humans. We all were. The shuttle was ready. Kevin said goodbye to his friends and prepared to launch. As he sat in the pilot's seat, a Krezat appeared beside him, startling him. Drekthar, how did you get on board? The assassin's 4 yellow eyes blinked. I have my ways, Kevin Russell. I came to offer something. He handed Kevin a small device. Our guild has technology not known to others. This shield might give you a small chance of survival. Very small, but better than none. Kevin took the device with surprise. Thank you. The shuttle launched toward the growing wormhole. On all ships, humans and aliens watched in silence. Kevin guided the small craft directly into the swirling energy, activated the modified drive, and then the shield Drekthar had given him. The wormhole flashed brilliantly, then began to shrink. Instruments showed it stabilizing, no longer a threat to the Vexeri homeworld. But there was no sign of Kevin or his shuttle. 3 days later, as the evacuation ships returned people to their homes, a Krezat scout ship reported a strange finding on a small moon at the edge of the Vexeri system. They had detected a human life sign. A rescue team rushed to the location. There, in the wreckage of a shuttle, they found Kevin Russell, alive but badly injured. Somehow, the Krezat shield had protected him as the wormhole had thrown him across space. 1 month later, Kevin stood beside Admiral Miller in the Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace. He still walked with a cane, but doctors expected him to make a full recovery. Before them stood Emperor Zorlak, his son Kraston, and the leaders of the Vexeri military. Today marks a new beginning, the Emperor announced to the gathered crowd and the billions watching across the galaxy. The Vexeri Empire formally apologizes to humanity for our actions and begs their forgiveness. He turned to face Admiral Miller directly. You had every reason to let us perish. Instead, you saved us. Your people risked everything for those who called themselves enemies. The Emperor's voice broke slightly. We have much to learn from humans. The Emperor gestured, and a group of Vexeri generals stepped forward. They removed their military insignia and placed them at Frank's feet, a gesture of complete surrender in Vexeri culture. Frank smiled and picked up the insignia, returning them to the generals. We don't want your surrender. We want your friendship. 2 weeks later, at Earth's main space station, representatives from 27 species gathered to sign the Galactic Alliance Treaty. Humans, Vexeri, and the Krezat Guild were the first to sign. As Drekthar added his name to the document, he said to Frank, Long ago, I told the Emperor that humans possess qualities this galaxy cannot afford to lose. Now everyone understands why. In the years that followed, Drekthar became the first non-human instructor at Earth's diplomatic academy. His first lesson always began the same way. Let me tell you about the day alien assassins refused to target humans, and an empire begged for mercy.